Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Shiro and I'm the creator of Not a Wakabi, which is the blog to this channel, and I have linked it down below, so check it out. And really the blog is about money, it's about living a healthy lifestyle, and it's about travel. So you will find tons of more information that you'll probably find on the channel, this being the first video on this channel. I hope you'll subscribe, please share, tell your friends, and let's get started. Today I wanted to talk about creating a budget, and the reason I wanted to do that is because you're going into a new year, and when you're thinking about your financial well-being, the basics are really a budget. Budget is so important, and I think of them as guardrails to our lives where you don't want to get over a cliff and a guardrail stops you from doing that. And that really essentially is what a budget is. It makes sure that you don't overextend yourself, you don't spend money you don't have, and you always stay on top of your finances. So going into the new year, I hope you guys will follow these tips. I hope you'll create a budget, and I hope that you use it, because what's the point of creating the budget if you're not going to use it? Okay, so make this budget and follow it, and I promise you, you'll probably have a better year financially than you've had in the prior years. So let's get to it. The first thing that you have to do when you're creating a budget, and this is what I do, I list down my income, and if you have income from various places, you want to factor that in. You also want to think about when you get paid. So if you get paid weekly, bi-weekly, or on a monthly basis, then your budgeting should follow that type of trend, where you either have a weekly budget, a bi-weekly budget, or a monthly budget. And the reason is, say for example, if I did a monthly budget, it would kind of throw me off because it would be harder to track. We pay our bills based on when we get paid. So if I did it on a monthly basis, I think it would be more harder for me to track what I'm doing and to follow. And that's just me. Maybe you prefer to do it that way, but for me, I like to budget based on when I get paid. So you could use that trick if you want to. And you could use a spreadsheet, you could use a budgeting app, or you could use a journal. I have used journals and spreadsheets for the most part, just because they're easy and they are readily available and they're free. I like the free stuff. And so when you list down your income, you're saying, I'm getting paid this amount of money and this is when I get paid. And if you have variable income because you make overtime, you're a salesperson and you get commissions, make sure that you factor that stuff in your budget when you're creating it, just to make sure that you cover everything that's coming in a month or in a week or in a whatever. And then the second thing that I do now is I list down my essential expenses that I know for sure that I have to pay. And these are my fixed expenses. And that would be your mortgage, your rent, your car payment, insurance. You want to make sure that you don't miss this stuff, because when you're budgeting, this becomes your reference point where you check off to make sure that you've paid these things, you've met deadlines. So make sure that when you're starting your budget, as you list these things down, you also thinking about when they're due. And one trick that I've learned over the years is you can change due dates on a bill. If you think that you're better off paying something at the end of the month versus the beginning of the month, call the billing company. And most of the times, if you've been consistent in making payments, they'll help you. They'll change the due date. So factor that in as you go into the next year. And then that thing that I list down will be my variable expenses that I have to pay for, but I'm not sure how much they'll be. Your gas bill, electricity, you have to fuel your car. There are things that come up during the month that you have to pay for, food, phone bill, things like that. Make sure that you list all of those things down so that you don't forget them. And based on history, go back to last month. What did you pay for? What has to be paid for? If it's a credit card payment that you have to make, factor that in. And I'll be talking about paying off debt in the future, so look out for that video. But really, you've listed out your income and your fixed expenses and your variable expenses, and you've covered all your bases to make sure you don't miss a payment. Now, the fourth thing is paying yourself. It's so important to save, and saving really is paying yourself back. And for me, saving is a must. It's almost like a fixed expense for me, because if you don't have money that you've put aside for anything that could happen, then you don't have a shield. If you don't have money that you've put aside for yourself, then you don't have a shield to protect you. So if an emergency comes for example, you get into a car accident and you have to pay a high deductible, or you go to the hospital and the same thing happens. If you don't have savings, it means you're either using a credit card and you have to borrow money to meet these expenses, and that's the worst. That's really the worst. So if you have an opportunity this year, I would recommend that you save 10 to 20% of your income. If you're a couple, how about saving one income? How about living on one income? And it's possible. I've seen people do this. Maybe make this year your biggest year in terms of savings. Say that we're going to live on this one income. You're going to pay all our bills based on that one income. And folks, if you decide to do something, we find ways to manage. And I promise you, if you decide to live on this one income, you will find ways to survive. So maybe this should be a goal for next year, that you want to save more money and you want to save one of your incomes. And the last thing would be my nice to have things, where maybe I want to buy a flight, I want to buy a bag that I sew. I try to be very frugal and I do not like to make impulsive buys. So if it's something that I want to buy that will cost me a good amount of money, I think about it for some time. And that's why you have to factor it in your budget, because it means that you have actually intentionally decided to spend whatever amount of money you're going to spend on that thing that you would be nice to have. So think about that. I mean, really think about that. And if it's something that you change your mind about, cancel it out, put it in your savings, or pay something else off. Your debt, your car. You could put more towards that stuff. And then when you have listed all these things, you want to make sure that you're not in the red, that you're not spending more than you have. Because when you're being frugal, you're making sure that you always live within your means. And that budget helps you to do that, because you've listed down everything that you have to pay for. You know how much you have, and you're making sure that if it's something that can be deferred so that you don't end up, going over your budget, then you do so. I hope these tips are helpful. I hope that you create a budget, and I hope that you use it, because what's the point if you don't use it? And if you have any questions, leave me a comment down below, and I promise I'll respond. And I will link down a couple of posts that I have written on the blog, which will have so much more information. And if you feel like this is helpful, tell a friend, hit the subscribe button, and go to the blog. There's tons of resources there. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time. Bye-bye.